All right, for the last lesson of Chapter 6, we are going to talk about something called commission and simple interest. So in your table of contents, you can go ahead and put today's date, and we will get started. All right, so the first thing is something called commission. This is something that you get when you have a job. You can earn commission, which is basically like extra money or like a bonus in a particular job that you have. So oftentimes, these come with sales jobs. You know, if you're selling products, you get a percent of that as a commission. So how do you find the commission? It's just a simple multiplication. You're going to take the total sales from whatever the example is, and you're going to multiply it by the percent. But just like yesterday's lesson, you want that percent to be written as a decimal. All right, so our first example, and go ahead and make sure you write down the key information. It says a telemarketer earns a 3.5% commission on each sale. Find the commission earned on sales of $16,000. So what we want to remember is that commission is equal to the sales times the commission percent. So what's happening is this telemarketer has sold whatever product they're selling. They've sold $16,000 worth. So that is the sales. So we're going to write $16,000. We're going to multiply it by the percent as a decimal. So do you guys see how this percent is 3.5%? If you move the decimal 2 spots to the left, it's a 0.035. And then you just grab your calculator and you do 16,000 times 0.035, and you get 560. So what that means is that whatever salary the telemarketer is earning, because they sold $16,000 worth of the product, they get an additional $560. All right, next example says a pharmaceutical sales rep earns a base salary of $92,000 plus a 30.5% commission on yearly sales of $80,000. Find the total salary earned. So the total salary is going to be the base salary, because basically this sales rep gets the base salary regardless of how much they sell. And then they have the base salary and they add onto it whatever they earned in their commission. So the first thing we want to do is find the commission, because that's what we don't know. We already know that the base salary is $92,000. So the commission is going to be the sales. So how much did the sales rep sell? See how it says yearly sales of $80,000. So you take the sales and you multiply it by the percent, the commission percent. So 30.5%, move the decimal 2 spots to the left, and you get a 0.305. Well, that is hard to tell, but that is a 3. Then you grab your calculator, multiply that out, and you get 24,400. So some jobs have a really nice commission. Pharmaceutical sales rep, they tend to earn pretty decent money because they have commissions like this, $24,000 commission. So how do we find the total salary? We're going to take the base salary, which was $92,000. That's what this person is earning. And on top of that, they get the commission. So we add in that commission that we just found, the 24,400. And the answer to the question is we add those two together and we get $116,400. So that is the total salary earned. All right, well now we're ready to move on to simple interest. Simple interest is just this nice little formula it says I equals PRT. So the idea is, let's say you put money into a savings account. You put in $100. You let it sit there for 5 years. How much interest have you earned on the account? So that's what simple interest is. So you've got the formula, and then you want to make sure that you write down what each variable stands for. I is the interest earned on the account or on the investment. P is the principal amount. So that's a banking term. In math, we want to think about it as the deposit or the investment, depending on what the example is. So P is stands for principal, but for us, we'll think of it as the deposit or the investment. Then you have your rate. Rate is going to be a percentage, and again, we're going to use it as a decimal. And then T stands for time, and you want to be careful. You always want to use the time in years. All right, so here's what one of these examples look like. And you can always pause the video and write this down, or definitely write down the key information so that you can look back at your notes to help you out with the homework. So to start off, it says you deposit $400 in your savings account. So I'm going to circle that. That has too many that's. That has an annual interest rate of 7%. After 3 years, how much money is earned in interest? So we're going to use our formula, I equals PRT. And off on the side, we're going to write down what each of these values is so that it's easy for us to just plug in and do the math. Now I, that is the interest. That's what they're asking. How much money is earned in interest? So we actually don't know what that is. The P is the principal. That's going to be your deposit. And you can see up here we circled that the deposit is $400. So we just write in 400. R is the interest rate. Again, we circled that. It's an interest rate of 7%. We do want that as a decimal, so move the decimal 2 spots to the left. We get 0.07. And then our time is the number of years. We're talking 3 years, so T just equals 3. So what we do is we just plug those numbers in. I equals, our P is 400 times the rate, R is 0.07, and the T is 3. So basically we just followed P times R times T. And then you grab your calculator, you just multiply all 3 of those numbers together. And when you do that, you get 84. So you want to make sure that we are putting accurate labels on this. 84, because we're finding, it says how much money is earned in interest, that is going to be $84. So interest is kind of a nice thing. It's basically free money. So as someone putting money into the bank, we really like this because we just give the bank business and we get $84 back. All right, so this is a little bit faster example. It says find the simple interest if $300 is invested, so that's invested, at 6% for 6 months. Now we're going to use our I equals PRT. We just have to make sure we know what each one stands for. So I, P, R, and T. So our I is going to be the interest rate or the simple interest. And you can see that's what it tells you to find. Find the simple interest. So we do not know what that is. That's what we're going to solve for. P is the principal. And if you remember when you wrote down the equation, you also wrote down the principal means deposit or it means investment. So we can see that $300 is invested. So that is an investment. So our P is 300. The R is the interest rate, and this is going to be the percent. So that's the 6% as a decimal is 0.06. And then T is the time in years. Here's where it's a little bit tricky. We're talking about 6 months. So how much of a year is 6 months? Well, that's half of a year, or 0.5. Then we just go ahead and plug the numbers in. P is 300. The R is 0.06 and the time is 0.5 for half of a year. Then you grab your calculator, you start dividing it out. 300 times 0.06 times 0.5, and you get 9. So anytime you guys are finding simple interest, that is going to be a dollar amount. So after 6 months, we have earned $9 in simple interest. Alright, this is the last slide of the intro video. What's kind of nice about this one is they gave you all the values. They said that your I is 72, the P is 400, and the R is 6%. What it's asking you to do is find T, the time. So all that you have to do for one of these is go through the formula left to right and plug in the information that we're given. We're told that the interest earned is $72. So I'm going to plug that in for the I. We're going to say 72 equals. Now we need the P. Well, the P is equal to $400. So 400 times the rate, 6% as a decimal is 0.06. And then we have the time. That's the thing we're trying to find, so we're just going to leave that as a T. So we've created an equation that we have to solve. It's actually just 2 steps to solve. What you're always going to do when you're trying to solve for one of these variables on the right side is you're going to go ahead and multiply the 2 numbers that you have. 400 times 0.06. And when you multiply that out, you get 24. We're going to go ahead and just keep the T with that and carry down our 72. And now it's a much easier equation to solve. You have 72 equals 24 times T. To get the T by itself, we'll just divide both sides by 24. So our time is 72 divided by 24 is 3. And then remember, your time is always expressed in years, so our label is 3 years.